Hello, and thank you for giving us another opportunity to spend some time with you on Stairway to Health, brought to you by Health Experts Canada. We've got some great ideas, new information, and hopefully a few laughs for you today. Who knows, if you're not careful, you may learn something.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Stairway to Health podcast. I'm your host, Frank Peary, and I'm here with
Marilyn Mitchell.
It's been a while since we've been on here
Yeah,
to do one of these.
I know.
We've been away. We've had a lot going on over the last year, but we are back, and we're back with some really exciting news. I'd like to welcome our guest today. This is JoJo Marie, otherwise known as Simply JoJo Marie, and she is the author of an amazing book called My Missing Piece: What I Learned While Bedridden for 1,460 Days. That sounds intense. But we are absolutely grateful to have her here today because we're going to talk a little bit about inspiration. She is an incredible motivational speaker.
Yes, she is.
On inspiration. She has helped to inspire many a man, woman out there. So, Jojo, welcome. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you for having me on your podcast. I think this is great. I love the energy of both of you, and I'm looking forward to the conversation.
Yeah, so let's dig right in here. My Missing Piece. Just going back to the title of your book, it sounds like you had quite the journey.
Well, trying to say this in a Cole's Notes version of the War and Peace story that it is. Basically, I struggled with health issues my entire life. I also carried with me childhood fear. Some of it was inherited, some of it was self-induced, some of it was a result of early childhood loss and tragedy. And I was forced to face it all in my 40s when I suffered a brain injury that left me completely bedridden and immobilized for over 1,460 days while I rehabilitated. And it was
Wow.
during that time in bed that I really, I guess, took the journey to authenticating and creating the life that I desired from the apocalypse I found myself in.
That's pretty extraordinary. I mean, it's difficult for most people to find themselves out of any level of health crises. But it sounds like the journey itself, I think for most people to hear would be most inspirational. And that's what I wanted to talk a little bit about today. Your whole, I guess, your journey or the path that led you toward inspirational healing for a lot of other people out there, because you've touched many lives, not only with your book and the publishing of your story, but you've been the host of an event, an evening known as Dinners of Inspiration. And I know that this year we are incredibly honored to be a
Yes.
part of, an expansion of that, moving towards an evening of inspiration, right? Tell us a little bit more about how you find the inspiration, not only for yourself to keep going, but how do you help to inspire others?
Well, the Dinners of Inspiration, my goal is always to inspire people to consider showing up differently, consider a new way of thinking, being, and showing up. So my inspiration when I was in the bed, because I had to find a way to inspire myself to take the next breath. Because 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, for over 4 years, I was in one position in a bed looking at a wall. So it was how do I motivate myself to keep breathing and to not give up? Because there was a good chance that I could have succumbed in that bed. And I had a sliding door in front of my bed that was really the only confirmation that life existed out there for me. And I would study everything outside. And I could tell you when a leaf was missing from a tree, and I kid you not.
Oh, I
I
believe
could
that.
tell,
Yeah.
I knew my squirrels. I knew each one of them individually, their characters, their behaviors. Um, I could tell when a flower had lost a petal, you name it, I knew it. And what inspired me to keep going was my realization through that window of nature that nothing is forever.
True.
Everything is ever changing. So as I was laying there 365 days of the year, season to season to season to season, I would look back and say, you know what, there was a time when I was looking through this sliding door and everything was frozen and there wasn't any leaves on the trees and there wasn't anything blooming and the robins weren't there. But then all of a sudden, as time passed, things evolved, things changed, and things rebirthed. And that was my confirmation that where I was today was not necessarily where I was going to be a moment from now, a month from now, a year from now, that
That's
I was
amazing.
also ever changing. And that really, nature is what inspired me to keep going.
That's impressive. It really and truly is. I mean,
Hmm.
Marilyn and I made a move recently, our home, our offices, our business to the country because the reality is, the city life was starting to steal a lot of the energy from us instead of giving back to us the way it once did. And we found that peace and that energy and that level of health that we were looking for through nature, right? Through Mother Nature herself. And so that is, I mean, completely understandable. I'm going to take you back to the point you made that nothing is forever, right? Things are ever changing. And it's funny because at Health Experts Canada, we encourage our clients to create their very own personal affirmations or a personal mantra, something that holds special meaning and helps them keep them grounded, right? But also helps to inspire them and motivate them to keep going on their journey towards optimal health. And one of our clients, very successful client through our State of Shock Success program, his mantra, and he's allowed me to share it, it was, there's always a way out. There is always a way out. No matter where you find yourself, no matter what position you find yourself in, there is always a way out. And so it brought me back to that when you mentioned, nothing is forever, things are ever changing. So I mean, I guess the bottom line is your story in and of itself, to go from where you were and to fight back the way you did. And honestly, I think it, not without its struggles when you're talking about 4 years in a bed.
Well, I don't think the average person can even fathom spending 4 years in a bed. I mean, I know there's lots of times where each of us have been sick with the flu or something, and we find ourselves bedridden or can't get out of bed because you're sick, and you're talking 2 and 3 days, and you just feel horrible and you don't know what to do, and that, and when you tell the story about having the flu, you say, "Oh my God, I was in bed for like 3 days and I couldn't get out." But can you imagine this? Like, to me, it's just, I can't even fathom it.
Well, I think to underpin the whole concept of inspiration and what's inspiring, I mean, it's you. You sort of embody this with yourself and your story to go through what you went through and to come back to the point where not only did you regain yourself, a sense of yourself and your life for yourself, for your family, you've taken on this role of being an inspiration to others, and people by sharing your story, and we're going to be talking about this later this month with you, but by getting vulnerable with yourself, right, opening yourself up to what needs to happen in order to make these positive changes, you're inspiring so many other people that maybe, like Marilyn said, after 3 days of laying in a bed, wait a minute.
Well, it's all relative, right? I mean, it is, but absolutely, you have to look at JoJo and understand that people would read her book, listen to her story, or go to one of the nights of inspiration, eat her wonderful food, and
Mhm.
and then understand that everything, she inspires people to believe in themselves. She
Bingo.
inspires people to believe that no matter how negative, badly challenged you feel at the time, there's always a way to overcome that.
Sure. Do you feel like that? Do you feel like that's your purpose now?
I'll tell you, when I was in the bed and in one of my darkest times in the bed, I have this wonderful practitioner, Dr. Peter. Dr. Peter Gabesells. He was my chiropractor, but he was so much more. He was my parental mentor through this whole thing and my spiritual guide. And I can remember laying there and really it was me in a bed and a bucket at my side. That was my washroom. And my marriage fell apart. My husband left, and my 14-year-old son at the time and I were beginning our lives again alone from scratch. And I'm laying there thinking, I can barely function, and somehow I got to get my shit together. And how am I going to do this? And why is this happening to me? That's all I kept saying was, why is this happening to me? And all of a sudden it was in one of those, Oprah Winfrey aha moments where I went, this cannot be all for naught. There's a purpose in this. Exactly. And I'm going to create something from this. I don't know what it is, but I'm going to create. And Dr. Peter always said to me, no matter how sick I was, no matter, maybe he couldn't do certain treatments on me, my brain was too sensitive. He said, there's always something we can do. Right. So maybe it's not what you want to do in that moment. Maybe it's not what you think you were supposed to do or that you need to do, but there's always something you can do in order, in order for you to take that next baby step forward to be where you want to be.
Well, I think that's pretty fantastic and definitely true. There's a lot of truth there. I mean, it really is. We believe in giving back to the community at large as Health Experts Canada, and we encourage so many of our listeners to do the same thing, right, in their lives, to give back to the community at large. The universe has a funny way of, responding and giving back to us when that happens. It's a reciprocal. I talk about it as energy or frequency, and you certainly have a very high frequency, high vibrational energy and frequency about you. It's a pleasure to know you, and it's going to be an absolute pleasure to work with you. I know that your dinners of inspiration and your evenings of inspiration that we have coming up, they have always been successful since you started. So you were given a magnificent gift through all of this tragedy. There comes triumph. And I thank you very much from the bottom of our hearts for sharing that with us and for sharing that with our audience and sharing it with the world, really.
Yeah.
I'm so blessed to have my path cross so many beautiful people's paths. And absolutely, you and Marilyn, it's been my pleasure and my honor. And I'm looking forward to creating with you.
That's awesome. Thank you so much for your time
good
today.
Times ahead.
Amazing. Thank you for your time today, JoJo. We really appreciate it. Thank you for joining us. And I have a feeling you'll be back with us on the podcast. There's so much more we'd love to talk to you about. But thank you very much. So, ladies and gentlemen, until next time, remember,
health equals wealth.
Absolutely. Bye for now.
So that's all the time we have today, but there's still so much more to talk about and learn. Head over to healthexpertscanada.com for more ideas on healthy living, and don't forget to like, download, and share this podcast with your friends, just for the health of it.